Alright, hello everybody, welcome back to another pickups video here on How to Lose It video games. I'm a little overdue for this because some of you might have seen on my Instagram I was actually in Illinois last week, and so playing lots of video games because we went to the Galloping Ghost arcade, but didn't have the chance to play any N64 or make any pickups videos. That has waited till today, so we're got an extra week in here, and we're gonna have like a week less when we get to the end of this month, so we'll see how that goes. But let's get started. I've got some stuff here, some cool stuff. As some of you may know, Core Gaming, we're having a buy two get one free sale that has actually been extended into October, so because of that there might still be some stuff to talk about next month. But there's a few things. There's a few things to do here. I'm gonna start with what's on top here is the Game Boy Advance. There's actually some really good Game Boy Advance stuff here that I've been very, very excited about. One of which is this right here. This is fucking adorable. I had to have this. I didn't actually get WarioWare Twisted. I didn't have it before, and I'm glad that I didn't, because this came in. This is this is like one of my favorite things ever, because it's got this big box version, because as you might know, WarioWare Twisted, I'll show you the cartridge, has a big cartridge with the gyrometer in it, because that is the game that is based all around motion on your Game Boy Advance. So you've got, this is what the Japanese, son of a bitch, this is what the Japanese cartridge looks like right here. It's got all the stuff up here in the top part here. But the, yeah, so the big box here, it's got this sort of like recycled paper look to it, which I really, really like. It's just, I love the feel of it and the look of it, all the brown and stuff, because it looks like Wario actually did make this himself, because that's the story of the games. They didn't cheap out on the manual paper or anything like that. It actually looks really, really nice in here, with character portraits and fold-out bits for all their stuff. It's just a really, really nice package. For a copy of the game, a game that you don't necessarily need to read. I think after one or two goes at it, you kind of have the idea down of all the motions that you could possibly make, and very few micro games will take more than one or two tries to learn most of the time in WarioWare. And if they do, you can just go to the menu and try it until you go, okay, this makes sense now. So a Japanese copy of WarioWare sometimes might seem like a silly idea, but it is even any struggles that you have to play. I found it so worth it to get it, because I love this package. This is a new favorite right here. Just adorable. But it's not it's not the only great Game Boy Advance game over here. There's 4 more cartridges here, and they're all, in my opinion, they're all fucking bangers. I'll start with the one that maybe people might not get too excited about, but it definitely got me going. Muppet Pinball Mayhem. I've always had my eye on this because I want to keep, getting pinball games. I still don't have Pinball of the Dead, which is a bummer, but Muppet Pinball Mayhem, both for the sake of getting all the Muppet games and getting all the pinball games that I can find. This was obviously a big deal for me. This is a PAL copy, but it still plays the same. It plays pretty much identically. I don't think there's any differences on this ROM. But yeah, Muppet Pinball Mayhem, it's got a couple tables. It's nothing special as a pinball game, but it's Muppets, so definitely something I always wanted to have. And another one off the list for Muppet games. There's only like 3 or 4 more that I don't have, and some of them are PC games. I do really want that Muppet Treasure Island, though, in a big box. It looks great. The last of the Sonic Advances that I didn't have, Sonic Advance 3, made by Dimps. They're all great games. Continuing the 2D Sonics and actually making good Sonic games while they were making some really, really awful decisions with the main series on consoles with the 3D style. So, Sonic Advance 1, 2, 3, really good trilogy of games. Finally got the 3rd one. I've got Sword of Mana right here. I still really not that familiar with the Mana franchise, but of course my partner is a big, big fan of it. And there's still a lot of games in that franchise that are after the first 2 Super Nintendo games. They're still kind of a thing. I know Dawn of Mana just got that port onto the Switch. That's cool. Sword of Mana is actually a game that I bought a really long time ago, too. Like right when I first started collecting, right past when I was doing N64, like I started with N64, of course, probably 12 years ago at this point, and like a year or two after that, I was like, well, I want to get Game Boy, I want to get like GameCube, you know, all this stuff. And Sword of Mana was definitely one that I had my eye on. I think I bought it off of like half.com, you know, that eBay offshoot that they used to do for books, and sometimes games would get on there. I bought a couple games off of that. I think I bought this and it just never came. And I don't even know if I got a refund for it or anything like that. So that was always sort of a, you know, I remember buying that. I never got it, but I finally have it. Just a really, really solid game in my possession. And finally, probably the crown jewel of what most people would consider for the pickups this month on Game Boy Advance. Metroid Zero Mission. I just played Metroid Fusion, finished it for the first time. It was brilliant. I'm becoming this really, really big Metroid fan now that I'm like, how fucking old am I? 28. I'm 28 years old. And I've come to the realization that a lot of people kind of get this, like, not nostalgia influence. I think that's the really important thing. The not nostalgia influenced, like, second or third tier Nintendo franchise that they really get into. So not a Mario, not a Zelda. Fire Emblem is kind of on the cusp, I think, because the last couple years it's gotten so big. But, like, the old Fire Emblems people would get into as adults because they would learn that they could import stuff and they get really into it. And Metroid is probably one of the more basic ones of that, but it's my non-nostalgia one. Star Fox would be my nostalgia-based one that I'm really into, but Metroid I never really played growing up. I probably flirted a little bit with some Prime 1, and I think I had borrowed Metroid Fusion from somebody at some point, but like, there's no Metroid on the N64, so that didn't help. I didn't have Super Nintendo or NES growing up at all, so I really didn't have much familiarity with Metroid growing up, but now I do, and I'm getting super, super into it. Love Dread, love Fusion. Really excited for Prime 4, even though I've never finished the Prime game at this point. It's very much on my list. So, I haven't finished Metroid 1, but I knew that I'd want to play Zero Mission. I knew I'd want to get it. So this is not cheap anymore, but I really, really, really went out of my way to get this. I'm very glad to have Zero Mission finally. And I'm probably going to play it pretty soon. Just to I think I want to do all the 2Ds and then do the Primes. Especially because it's not like Prime 4 is coming anytime fucking soon, but whatever. One 3DS game this month. This is Little Battler's Experience. And for a long time, it was tough for me to know that I wanted to pick this game up, because without really picking it up and like in my hands looking at it, I always mixed it up with another really bad game that I think some of you might be familiar with and might even think the same thing. Tenkai Nights on the 3DS, which is a garbage game. It's nothing. It's literally, there's nothing going on in that game from what I've heard. But Little Battler's Experience looks so much like it on the cover and the stuff with the robots in it. But I noticed, I'm like, oh, it's a level 5 game. Like, I want, I really appreciate level 5, even though about half their games aren't my genre. But my friend Ryan also told me that, yeah, this is absolute hidden gem on this system. Like, highly recommended. So pick up Little Battler's Experience for sort of a Pokemon-y type game. Like, they also do Yokai Watch, so like they know what they're doing with this, and they might need to, not do some of the same genres with new franchises anymore. But I think this is probably going to be a hidden gem type of a pickup for people. It's not too expensive still. So yeah, I think this comes highly recommended. I'm glad to have grabbed it. I got a couple PC games here, although some of this is just me being real silly, and over the past couple years, this is just like, haven't you bought that game so many times? It's not really, but we'll get there. So for one thing, I got Stalker Call of Pripyat. That is the third existing Stalker game, so I have all those now. That's good. And I've talked about Stalker picking up those games so much in the last year or so that I don't even really feel like I need to talk about it. Just, there was another one. I might not be able to play it in any real good capacity or anything like that, but I'm glad to have it. But then these two here. These are the Neverwinter Nights and Dungeons & Dragons Anthologies. or Neverwinter Nights. They have silly different name conventions here, but oh god, excuse me. But yeah, basically, very recently I've picked up Neverwinter Nights like 2 gold or something like that for the PC, and some of these games that I had already, that I already have in some capacity and still have, like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Icewind Dale, Planescape Torment. I have those games on the Switch in their enhanced editions. But just for the sake of the originals, to have these anthologies here are really, really compact but extensive compilations of these games. And I feel like not everybody's going to feel the same way, not everybody's going to feel the opposite about it. But I just want these in a physical copy, but I don't need the big boxes, and I don't need all the shelf space being taken up in the display pieces or anything like that about it. I literally had Neverwinter Nights 2 Gold and Icewind Dale 2 in their boxes, like they're small but cardboard boxes. And it was this big on the shelf for one of those games. So I had 2 copies of those games, so I've basically condensed down by 50% of the size. And I have all these. And there's still stuff that I didn't have before, like, I don't know if everything was in here for Neverwinter Nights 2. And the one thing I know is I didn't have Temple of Elemental Evil here for Dungeons & Dragons. So these are all great games. They're some absolute classics of Western RPGs. And just good to have. Like, this is the type of, like, PC stuff that I'm like, yeah, I will absolutely have that on my shelf as sort of, like, my meager collection compared to everything else. Very happy to have them. Actually, I gotta pop these in on this computer when I'm done with this, because I realize, I want to install everything. I want to make sure it's ready to go if I ever want to. I hadn't done that yet. We got exactly one PS1 game. This is Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1. Legacy of Kain is a series that I know I really need to get into because of the vampires and the just really extensive, cool lore, and all the imagery is awesome. But I've had such a hard time doing it. When I was a kid, I actually got Legacy of Kain Defiance, which is cool, but I feel like it's probably one of the weaker games in the franchise. And this franchise, unfortunately, has been mostly dead for like 15 years. It had like an MMO, I think, like 7 or 8 years ago, but I'm never going to play that. That's not my interest whatsoever, even if it was still going. But I was like, oh no, I'd rather play like Blood Omen, like the first Blood Omen game that's made by Silicon Knights and is like a Zelda clone. And I'm like, yeah, I tried to do it, but it's early PS1 type of game in adventure mode style game, like not really helping you along, and it was really hard for me to get into. So now that I think about it, I'm like, maybe I should get Soul Reaver. I'll try Soul Reaver because it's more cinematic and everything, and it has a different character. I looked at Kane and I was like, that's a really cool character. I want to know what he's about. But maybe I do want to play as Raziel. That's his name. So I'm gonna give this a try too. I was kind of thinking about getting the Dreamcast one, but whichever one. I just wanted to pick it up so I could get the first one and give it a shot. So maybe that'll happen sometime soon with that. I've got two. I'm not sure if I talked about this last month. I can't even remember. Because it was on my running list, and I was like, didn't I already do that one? I don't remember if I did, but if I did, it's GTA Trilogy on the Switch. I made really sure that it was good to go and not broken and everything, and I picked it up. I played some San Andreas. It was fun. I can't stick with GTA games, though. That's the only thing. Like, I want to play GTA games for the story, and then I never stay with the story. But I know I like them. It's just, that's all it is. So this is always there for me. It's fine once you patch it. It's okay. But then we also got this game, Arcade Paradise. I've actually been really, really looking forward to this game pretty much all year, as Wired, the company, has been posting about it and getting us all psyched for it. This is their big release of the year, and I loved it, actually. This game was awesome. I can't recommend this enough to everybody. I really do think, like, if this sounds appealing at all to you, I think it does everything that it sets out to do really, really well. But it's very funny because when I go to describe it to people, I'm always a little bit like nervous that I'm gonna sound dumb, because I think this game sounds like, premise wise, a joke video game that people would talk about on like a sitcom or something, and they'd make fun of like the nerdy teenage son for playing it because he won't go out and get a real job or something. But basically, the premise is that you, in 1993, have inherited a small laundromat from your successful businessman father, and you have to go run the laundromat, but the laundromat also has a couple of arcade games in the back. And as you start to not only play the arcade games yourself, but sort of make a big deal about the fact that you have them and look to it towards that as part of your business, you start to make more money and you get an arcade, and there's like, you start to grow the arcade, but you're also running a laundromat which has like a deluxe like service where you have to do all the laundry and make more money by doing the laundry too. So you have to split up your time until eventually the ultimate goal of the game is you don't have to do the laundry anymore. It's literally like working so that you don't have to work anymore, and you just have to play the arcade games and make the arcade games more popular, and, you know, earn more money to buy more games and all kinds of perks and stuff. And it's just a simulation game, a business simulation. It's not truly that, because a simulation game implies that you can fail if you do poorly, and you can't really do that. It's too story-based for that. There's a progression that they want you to do, but you are allowed to do a lot of it at whatever pace you feel is appropriate. If you just want to play the arcade games all day and let things kind of go to shit around it, it'll take longer for you to make money, but you can kind of just do that. It's fine. And the arcade games that they make, there's no licensed arcade games in here, but they made 35 games, most of which are really good. And you might have different games that I didn't even like that you like in this game that you spend more time on. And I just think overall this package was really, really good. I feel obligated that I have to review this game because was really excited. I played it for like 35 hours. I put a lot of time into this game and enjoyed all of it. And I just really want people to buy it. I've already gotten 2 people to say that they either have or will buy it. So, really, really awesome game here that is the only other Switch game that I bought this month besides the GTA, and it was very, very good. Please look into this game. It's awesome. Alright, that's it for Switch games. I still got more things to talk about. It's not like that was it. But I just had like a big detour there to talk about Arcade Paradise. It's one of my favorite games of this year. Like, genuinely. 2 games here that are for different systems, but it's systems that I don't usually buy games for anymore. And they're both related because I bought them from the same GameStop sale. This is DevWill Too, MD referring to the Mega Drive, and Machine Cave for the NES. These are both homebrew games from Mega Cat Studios, who you've probably seen around sometimes in retro shops. GameStop carries them now, but apparently they don't want to anymore because they put them all on sale. Cheap Ass Gamer posted that GameStop was having a sale on these. They were all $10 each, and most of them had already sold by the time I saw that post, but these 2 were still left, and I was like, I'm gonna grab whatever they have that I haven't already picked up in some way. Like, I already have Tanzer for the Mega Drive. It was a pretty cool game. I keep saying Mega Drive. It is a Genesis game, but they keep referring to stuff as the Mega Drives, and also they're called Mega Cat. But yeah, this DevWill 2 is a little funky little platformer with this, yellow guy here. Looks pretty cool. And Machine Cave here is for the NES. It's very much, from what I can tell, is a lot like Subterranea. If you ever played that game for the Genesis, it's an NES style of that game. And those are just like something interesting to buy for systems that I don't really collect for that much anymore. They were $10 each. We've got some Xbox stuff. Just one 360 game. This is Omerta, City of Gangsters, which was definitely influenced really highly by the fact that I just watched The Sopranos again. So a game that I saw that I didn't have that was about the Mafia, even though I have other games that I need to play for that specific reason that they're about the Mafia and I want to play them, like Mafia. This is actually a lot like a newer game that I also haven't played called Empire of Sin. It is a strategy type of game where you just run your family from sort of overarching like bird's eye view, like you're playing a RTS or something. It's supposed to be okay. It wasn't expensive, so I gave it a try. Yeah, actually, it's described here on the front by official Xbox magazine as SimCity by way of Al Capone. So there you go. Then we've got original Xbox. These were things I probably should have bought a long time ago if I was ever going to pull the trigger on them, but what are you going to do? I finally did. Fatal Frame 1 and 2 on the Xbox. The Xbox versions of both of these are, I want to say, a little bit cheaper now. They still are than the PS2 versions, but these are more the Director's Cut versions. Just like Silent Hill. Silent Hill 2 has the Director's Cut version on Xbox. It's still much, much more sought after on PS2. I don't know why that is. Like, if I'm playing survival horror games, like story-focused, really well-written survival horror games, and they say there's more story in one version than another, I want that one. I don't care what systems they are. So, yeah, Fatal Frame 1 and 2. I've got 3 on the PS2. I've got actually multiple ways of playing Maiden of Blackwater, and if it gets a physical, I will be buying Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. And I don't know when I'm going to play any of them, because it's like, I really want to have these games, all these survival horror games that are very well regarded, but there's so many that I want to play before I play these. Like, other Silent Hill games that I still haven't played a lot of, and new stuff that's coming out, all this new stuff, like PS4 and PS5 horror games that I really, really want to play, and I keep not pulling the trigger on, but I'm going to play them first if I buy them, and not play these as they sit on my shelf, having been $80 each. And then we got a stack of PS3 and a little stack of PS4. Start with the PS3, Under Defeat HD Deluxe Edition, published by Rising Star for the PS3. This is just any physical version of a shoot 'em up that I can get my hands on. I will do that, even though this game is a bit hard to find. But I've actually had, if you've seen some of my posts lately about going to the Galloping Ghost and whatnot, I've really got shoot 'em ups on the brain. But this is actually a lot lower on my priority list than some of the other ones that I have been looking to get my hands on, even digitally. There's a lot of Switch stuff for shoot 'em ups that I really, really am gonna buy and play as soon as I get any sale notifications, basically, because I won't pick until they go on sale, and that's how I'll determine what I want to buy. But Under Defeat HD is supposed to be solid. I got nothing really to say about it other than it's shoot 'em up. Even 360 has way more shoot 'em ups on physical than PS3 does. Like Akai Katana, awesome game. Death Smiles. PS3 basically has this. Okay. Other PS3 games. Lord of the Rings, Aragorn's Quest. I actually used to have this on PS2. Tried it and, like, had no real interest in it. But very recently, a man after my own heart, basically. The channel was called I Finished a Video Game. He was discussing every Lord of the Rings video game. And he did every version of it. And actually, there's another channel doing some similar stuff, such as with every version of, like, Fellowship of the Ring. I've seen a video of his. But I'd already watched the 5-hour video from this gentleman, I Finished the Video Game, about the Lord of the Rings ones. And I was like, I should pick up some version of Aragorn's Quest again, just to, you know, it's not an expensive game at all. And he was like, probably PS3 sounded a little bit more interesting from what he was saying, so I've got this now just for the sake of, like, having Lord of the Rings stuff, like this mug that I just bought that sits on my shelf that's over to my right here, that's covered in Tolkien stuff, because this is my house now, and there's going to be a fucking Tolkien shelf. Like, these are things that I want. So, yeah, I have Aragorn's Quest. I'll pop it and play it for 10 minutes and then go play Return of the King. I don't care. And then lastly for PS3, Zone of the Enders HD Collection. it's really, really hard for me to ever want to get into any mech game, really, because they just usually are not the type of, like, mechanically easy thing to understand for me. From Software, especially, has made so many, and I just, like, people love that company, but they love it because of Dark Souls. And I don't even feel like people go back to From Software games and really enjoy them. They just want to play From Software games because they must be like Dark. I don't know. But anyway, Zone of the Enders is Kojima. And I've decided I do like Kojima. I like the way that he makes games, even though it's mostly Metal Gear Solid, which is stealth-based, and I'm not good at them at all. I'm so bad at all Metal Gear games, but I've played the first one and gotten through it. So I figured maybe I might want to give Zone of the Enders a try. If it's more action-based, if I can get into it, if it's the right speed for me, I might actually enjoy these. So, HD collection on PS3, solid way to go. I've got, lastly, 3 PS4 games here. Dark Pictures House of Ashes. I now have the 3 existing Dark Pictures games. I have not played Man of Medan, and the reason for that is because I've heard it is the weakest by far of the existing ones, but I did just play Little Hope, which is actually really good. Supermassive, I just kept kind of hearing, oh, they're not as good as Until Dawn and The Quarry, or they're bigger games. And I was like, well, they're half the price. It's to be expected, but maybe I don't need to go out of my way for them. But eventually, I picked up 2 of the games, and I was like, I really, really like the games that I have played by them. I want to play one, and so I played Little Hope, which is the one before this. They're not related in any way, by the way. But I played Little Hope, and I was actually... People said that Little Hope was the best one out of them, but it was still just kind of okay. So I had my expectations really low, and I ended up really, really enjoying it. Really short, sweet, to the point. Has some strengths, has some weaknesses, but actually even managed to have a better ending than Supermassive usually does. I think a lot of people probably don't like the ending, but I was okay with it. I was pretty on board. So House of Ashes is the one that came out last year. They have another one coming out this year. They're really pumping these things out. So that was the other thing, is I really was like, I don't want to get too far behind on these. And this story in particular is about American military in Iraq, and they stumble into this underground temple filled with monsters, and they have to work together with the people that they're fighting in Iraq to kind of work together and get out of it. So it's interesting premise, definitely. I'm probably going to book this in at some point soon, although I already have my October itinerary laid out for me, and that's not on it because I just played Little Hope. That was on the itinerary. I played it already. It's good. So we'll see where else the Dark Pictures Anthology takes us, basically. I've got King of Fighters 14 Ultimate Edition. This actually, if you're at all interested in stuff like this, the King of Fighters stuff on physical, you should come in the store. Please come in and grab these while we still have them for the MSRP, basically, from Pix and Love. Pix and Love is a great company. We've got some of their games. I really think that they're doing a good job with their stuff. And King of Fighters, I talked about it actually just last night on Instagram, where I was like, I've had shmups on the brain since I've been to the arcade, and I've also kind of had fighting games on the brain. I've had them on my brain for a little bit because I've also been watching lots of Matt McMuscle's content and listening to his podcast, which is about fighting games. The only fighting game franchise that I know really, really well, I'm not good at any of them, but I know Mortal Kombat really well. But there's all the Capcom stuff, Street Fighter and all their other ones, and there's all the SNK stuff, including King of Fighters, that I know is mechanically usually much better than Mortal Kombat, and I would like to try them, and I'd like to get more familiar with them. So I did grab this, and I've also got so many other things that I could play for King of Fighters. It's not like I had to, but King of Fighters 14 is supposed to be really good, and this is a complete edition, basically, with all the DLC characters and everything on the disc. So this has 58 characters in this version, so that's very nice. Good version to have. And lastly, our final game for this month. I knew I would do this. I feel silly. I feel very dumb for it. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. When this was announced, and they said they were redoing every game, they weren't just porting the first two trilogies of games or the seventh one. I was like, ooh, that sounds like a day one purchase for me. I went, wait a minute. I never play those. I never actually go and play the Lego games. And if I do, I don't play through them when they come out. But I kept hearing all the great things about Skywalker Saga. It's supposed to be really, really good. But I also knew that the Lego games, they drop in price all the time. They get really cheap, really fast. But nonetheless, I'm like, sitting here, I'm like, I really do want to play this. So I bought this like last month, over the past couple weeks. And it was already down to $30. And I was like, immediately like, you gotta play this. You should play this because you just play it before it gets even cheaper. I haven't played this. Of course not. Why the fuck would I? But I've heard lots of good things about it. I'm excited to get to it. I want to enjoy things about Star Wars again. Because I kind of realized that I fucking hate Star Wars for what it is now. I want to find some reason to enjoy anything about the last three new movies, which they have games for now. They have, on this game, they have 8 and 9, which never got games before. I want to see the good things about Lego Star Wars redone and see what they can actually improve because it's supposed to be good. I want to see the Lego games have good, like, production values with voice acting. It's not that they don't have good production values, but they had that, all the silent, like, non-verbal stuff. And so, people say really good things about it. I want to see all that. But now it's October, and I'm playing scary games, and I'm not going to play this. So I don't know when I'm going to get to this, but I really want to. I should have bought it on Switch, too. Why didn't I just wait for the Switch version? I don't know. Stupid Star Wars logo. And my need to actually enjoy Star Wars for once. Really, really got me with this. So yeah, that's it. Kind of a down note to end on because I'm just kind of mad at myself about it. But that was more of a 5-week thing. Probably, I don't even know if it might have even been 5.5 weeks, really. A lot of stuff, a lot of really cool stuff. Especially that Game Boy Advance, just bangers, 5 bangers right in there. A lot of stuff to look forward to. We'll see what the next 3 weeks brings. Not a full month, but the next 3 weeks brings. And I'll be doing N64 Quest at some point today. I really, really need to do it, even though it's already kind of late in the day. It's 5:30 for fuck's sake. And it's going to be South Park Rally, which I'm not really looking forward to, but I can bang that out if I can just get sat down in front of the TV and just do it. So I'll see you for that, and take it easy. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.